my duty once again. It feels like it's been so long to welcome you and all of our listeners to another episode of Half Baked. I think this might be Series 4, Episode 1. But it also could be Series 1, Episode 30. How are you, Phil?
I was thinking Season 7. I thought you would mention that we're starting Season 7, but there you go.
This is Season 7.
Yes, this is definitely Season 7. So, yeah, I'm good. How are you, big man?
I'm all right, but Seasons 5 and 6 were pretty short, weren't they?
Yeah, you could have missed them if you'd blinked.
You could have missed them if, well, I missed them. I'm not sure they existed, Phil. I think you're pulling our legs. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Yeah, how are you? Are you in the land of the free?
I am. I'm here in relatively sunny Northern California, loving life. And yeah, are you going to get on with today's episode? What's going on with you, Alex?
I just want to find out if it's still free in America. Are you still free? Is it free?
It's free, but with a tariff, basically.
It's free with a tariff. Okay, yeah. Well, that doesn't lead us quite nicely into today's topic, which, Phil, you're going to introduce, but just in the way of housekeeping, I suppose. As you all know by now, this episode, this podcast, Half Baked, is all about one of us presenting, as the title suggests, a half-baked idea. And we'll kick that idea around for 20 minutes or so, and then we'll decide at the end of it if we want to fully bake it or if we want to throw it in the trash. Phil, it's your duty, honour, and privilege to present this week's half-baked idea.
Yeah, so my half-baked idea this week, I've got a couple of kids. One's at university, one's in American high school here in California, and they often struggle with some of the stuff. For example, some of the maths that come along and go, "Dad, can you help me with my partial fractions or some other thing that I haven't done for like 40 years?" And it occurs to me that I can't remember how to do them. And next thing is, why are they learning this stuff? How is it possibly going to be useful to them in their lives later? Because my daughter, she's not going to go into any kind of science or mathematics thing that will require knowledge of partial fractions or calculus or any of that. And thinking back to my own education, I mean, I was really quite good at mathematics, and I did engineering at university, but I don't think I've really ever used calculus or much trigonometry or, I know, in algebra, yeah, but there's lots of things that I learned at school that were of no use and have not been of any use. And it makes me wonder, why are we still teaching kids these things when it's predominantly useless for most of them? All right, some of them might benefit if they go and do an engineering degree and it's you need some heavy mathematics, but that's quite a tiny percentage of the population. Like, what, 20% of the population goes to university, something like that, and then a lot of those are doing arts subjects. So the actual number of people who really need to know that stuff, I suspect, is like 1% or less. So why are we teaching that stuff? And why aren't we teaching stuff that actually would be more useful? And there's a whole long laundry list of things we could talk about that would be useful. But yeah, that's basically my half-baked idea is, why isn't there a concerted effort to revamp the syllabus completely to make it useful for pretty much everyone?
Cool. All right. Sounds meaty. So, I haven't had that much dealing with schools recently since I was at school. So it does surprise me that some of that is still in the syllabus. Has the syllabus changed? Does it get updated? Because one thing I'm sort of thinking when you're telling me about things like calculus and fractions is we have tools to do those things these days. So you might, it's kind of like you need to know how to get the answer rather than like what the answer is, if that makes sense. What are the best tools to use that aren't your brain?
Yeah, and I'm sure the syllabus does change a bit over time, but I wonder if it's changed sufficiently. For example, when we were kids, or when I was a kid, we were taught logarithms. Now, logarithms are an amazing thing, but we when we were taught to do them, we were taught to look them up in a book and add them together and then convert the back without really being told why we were doing it. I never knew why I was doing it, and like I said, I was quite good at maths. But now later in life, I say, oh yeah, logarithms are amazing. But I wonder if that they stopped teaching that kind of method of logarithms 20, 30 years ago, and the only reason it was there was because actually just before I was doing that, the slide rule, which I never used, was a big help in doing mathematics quickly, multiplications quickly, and based on logarithms. Calculators were just coming on board when I was a kid, so the need for a slide rule completely went away. But yes, I'm sure the syllabus does change, but I wonder if it changes sufficiently.
Yeah, I remember at school we had to buy one of those little metal boxes that had loads of things in it. Compass, set
Yeah,
square,
yeah.
right angle, loads of other things like a pencil.
For technical drawing.
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure why, but I've never, like, if I think about a compass, I've never used a compass in my life since I was 12, and I had one in my, metal box at school. I've never
And
had to
actually,
use a set
and actually,
square. I've never had to measure a right angle. You know,
it's not
um,
actually a compass, is it? It's a pair. I think it's a pair of compasses.
yeah, it had like a metal bit in one end, and
Yeah,
then you had to stick a little crappy pencil in the other end.
yeah. A compass is a thing like that that tells you the north. That's a pair of compasses. I don't know why it's called a pair of compasses, but it's a pair of compasses.
I've never had to use a pair of compasses in my life after school. But did you know that you can? Sorry, just on compasses. Did you know that you can use an analog watch, also known as proper watch, to find out where the north is? So you can kind of navigate using a watch as long as you know where the sun is. I was never taught that at school. So why did I end up with a pair of compasses which I'm never going to use, but without kind of really good life knowledge about? Oh no, I'm stuck in a jungle / desert, and I don't know which way is north, but I know I need to go there. That would have been really useful.
How many times have you been in a desert, though, Alistair?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I do. There have been a couple of occasions where I've needed to know where north is. Quite recently, I was travelling on my bike, a bit lost. Like I know I need to go north. I don't know which way north is. There you go. Boom. I didn't like reach for a tool that I'd been given in a metal box at school. So I think I might be on board, Phil. Have you got any more examples of? Well, just a bit of context, I suppose. While you're thinking of examples there, I just had a look at the curriculum, and it appears that the school curriculum was devised in 1998 here in the UK. It's probably
Oh,
different in
really?
the US.
Okay.
And it had its last major overhaul in 2014. Now, a couple of things wrong with that. 2014 is a long time ago. We live in the period of information acceleration. So, like, things are more things need updating more frequently. 2014 is a lifetime ago. And then, secondly, it was updated by Michael Gove. For European American listeners, Michael Gove is basically a right wing fascist, and is very, very politically inclined. And that's weird, isn't it? Why is the curriculum like being decided by political leaders?
I'm
There
sure
you go.
he didn't do it on his own. He didn't
I'm,
go
I'm
no.
sure I'm sure he didn't, but it's known as the Gove curriculum, so he definitely had a hand in it. So a bunch of things, Phil. Sorry, I've just lumped a load of things on your plate there. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, well, 1998. I mean, that was just at the cusp of the internet boom kind of thing, right? So, what it doesn't tell us is how much it changed. I mean, if the are people still a lot of people still learning calculus, even at 14 and 15? I don't know. In the UK, I know that they're doing all sorts of trigonometry and geometry here in the US as part of the mathematics. So I don't know when that was revamped, but they do a lot of it, and I'm not convinced it's useful in the real world for most people. So why bother? and they're
The
forced to do
kids,
it. It's not
the
like
kids learn.
it's not like they have a choice. Like in the UK at 13 or 14, you have a choice. Okay, what you're going to do as the main subjects, and you can drop things. There's a little bit of that, but you can't drop.
Okay.
I think I'm right in saying you can't drop mathematics and you can't drop English, and
Uh-huh.
there's multiple English strands. So you have to do these things, partial
Yeah.
fraction. Even if you have absolutely no interest and you've got no competence in it, you still have to keep doing these things. Does that make sense if you're never going to use it in your life? Why not? Why not do something? Why not learn something more practical? Something that will equally enable you to build that way of thinking and critical thinking and how to get through life, but not partial fractions and calculus.
I mean, the choice that you're talking about in the UK, there was a bit of a choice. You could learn, you could drop certain things, but then the opposite happens when you go into A levels. So this is like 16 plus. You choose what you want, and then you're lumped with something that just happens to go with those because that's the teacher that's available. So I did English literature because I wanted to, French because I wanted to, general studies because I wanted to, and economics, which was like it just didn't fit, and I didn't want to do it, and I had no interest in it, and I flunked it. But I was forced to do it because there weren't enough teachers. So that's a bit crap.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned English literature because I was also thinking about the books that people are forced to read at school. I mean, we read. I'm pretty certain there was things like Jane Eyre and some Thomas Hardy's books, maybe, and things like that. And I was thinking, well, why those books? They're ancient. Like the Austen, Jane Austen, yeah, Jane Austen. She wrote her books in the early 1800s. The Brontes were mid 1800s, and Thomas Hardy was late 1800s. So whichever way you look at it, that was 100 years before I was in education. Really, why are they teaching those books? I don't really. For me, they were forgettable. I don't
It was
remember
rubbish.
really. Why were we reading those? So I did yesterday. I think, okay, come up with some better books. What could you be teaching kids at school? And I had a look at the top 100 books from each of the decades, from the 50s, 60s, 40s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 2000s, 2010, 2020, or not 2020, because we're in that now. And yeah, and actually, I was equally surprised at how few good books, from my opinion, have been published in the last 70 years. There was some good ones that jumped out at me. Things like Fight Club, Train Spotting, 1984, A Prayer for Hermione. But actually, then I thought, do we really want to be having kids read Train Spotting at school? Probably not. Not appropriate material. Similarly with Fight Club, might be a fun social experiment, but no, that's probably not a good idea as well. But yeah, it was so maybe this is a separate topic for another half baked, is to talk about how few good books are written, and why is that. But anyway, so yeah, books.
Terrible. Little Women. Terrible.
I've
Sorry, not
I've
not
never read
not.
Little Women, but I noticed in some of my research, people often reference Little Women.
I, I don't mean the book. I just mean we were talking about Little Women. No, I do mean the book. It was terrible. It was really boring. Really, really. That's the one that I remember. And that was like primary school. Shakespeare. Unintelligible. Completely unintelligible. You
Yeah.
know? So, yeah, complete waste of time. Little Women is the one that I've still got PTSD about. But other things I remember studying or being forced to study at school. Moles.
Oh, in chemistry.
No, again. We yes, in chemistry. Moles. Terrible. Like you want to
Terrible.
go into chemistry and blow things up, right? That's what you want to do. You know, what I remember our chemistry is magnesium. Amazing, right? You set it hard, stand well back. So yeah, what you want to learn in chemistry is how to detonate highly explosive ordnance devices. I think you don't want to read about moles. You don't.
No.
Again, it's not what the only reason why I still know anything about moles is because of the trauma that I went through at school whilst being forced to study them. In history, the Corn Laws.
I'm not familiar with that phrase.
Well, I had to look it up because I obviously haven't retained it because it's the world's most boring thing ever. The Corn Laws were British tariffs on imported grain from 1815 to 1846, designed to protect domestic landowners by keeping grain prices artificially high. I mean, actually, perversely, I can sort of see why the idea of tariffs, which probably belongs in economics, because it's linked to inflation, could be studied, especially in America these days. And that's part of history. We could be learning like about plague, you know, and the first manned, like the trip to the moon. We could have been learning properly about wars. You want to learn about wars in history, don't you? But also like human psychology, the psychology of wars and why we're built that way and all that stuff. Not the Corn Laws or moles or little women.
Yeah, when you were talking there, I thought, in chemistry, learning about atoms and the composition of atoms and electrons, things like that. I think that's worthwhile. Even though I don't come across atoms that often in my daily life, but and also on the Second World War, we were talking about the Second World War, but we never got I don't think we ever got the horror of the Second World War and how many people died.
Yeah.
We bang on about how many Jewish people were killed in the Second World War, and there was a lot of Jewish people killed, but there was also a lot of Russians killed.
I knew nothing about Stalin. I learned nothing about Stalin, at school. It was just this kind of. You're quite right. The teaching of the Second World War was very binary, I think. But but Stalin was like the worst of the lot. Arguably, they're all pretty bad. Didn't know anything
And then
about
the effect it had on the British people. I mean, all the rationing. I didn't know rationing went on for years after the war's finished. The war finished. So it's and what led to the war? I had no idea. So it's and the economics that and how it all played into the rise of the Nazi Party in Germany. So it was just why aren't you? It's taught, but it's not taught in a way that really brings it home, I think. Or maybe I wasn't receptive at that time. I don't know. But the other things that I think would be worthwhile learning about, a second language early on. I was speaking to this from a friend, one of my colleagues. He's Korean. They're taught English from a very early age, like 4 or 5 years old or younger. We taught a second language, but only as an afterthought when we get to 11, right? I think it'd be good to have a second language done earlier on. Why not? A musical instrument, you can't be learning a musical instrument. I think I never did that when I was younger. Both my kids do play musical instruments. I think it's a great thing. Martial arts, I think it's a great skill to have, or something similar. Teaches discipline and stuff. Yeah, fighting. But the other thing is like knots. Like I was thinking this morning, how many knots do I know? I know 4 knots: shoelace, a normal knot, a shoelace, a slip knot, and a knot in your tie. Those are the 4 knots I know. Yeah,
you know, slip knot.
Yeah, but I do see videos every now and again of knots coming up on my reel on Facebook or whatever it is, and there's some amazing knots. I keep meaning to teach myself some knots.
Do you?
Because I think they're.
Do you really?
Yeah, I think.
Do you really keep thinking you need to teach yourself? Come on, Phil.
Every 3 or 4 seconds, I think, I should do that.
I should learn it. Come on.
It's I think constant thinking about knots. But no, I'll tell you what. I'm going to learn a knot or two, and then amaze you with the knottiness of it.
I suspect you're talking absolute bollocks. Just back there. So I've just made a couple of notes there about things that we could have taught. Now, some of these things are life skills that maybe your dad should have taught you. For example, how to drill a hole. I don't know how to drill a hole. I can't. Everything in this house is on an angle. Everything that requires 2 holes, and then something like a curtain or a pick, just terrible. I end up with these like chasms.
What you need to know to drill a hole, Alistair?
I need to
think
know
it's
how to
innate.
drill a hole.
I'll tell you what's different between England um, and America and the United States. The walls material is different. So uh, I've never owned my own home in the UK, but when I know drilling into the wall, the way it was, I don't quite know why I knew that. But coming here was a complete. What's going on? It's a different thing altogether. So maybe that's a skill that's required. Maybe next.
So that's a skill. I think so. I think that just what you were saying about music there. So music was a lesson at school.
Yeah,
Um, but all you want to do is play an instrument. You want to learn to play the piano, but you
yeah,
don't. What you taught is you taught theory. You taught musical
yeah,
theory. You taught about bar. It's like again, something utterly inspirational, right? Something that works with human species on an emotional and like alchemical level. It's just made it the world's most boring thing.
yeah,
Like, do you know what I mean? We were in school in the late '70s and early '80s. There's loads of great music being like teach us how to like work a synthesizer, please, because whenever I'm out and I hear that sound, it sounds amazing. I don't need to know what a adagio means. I don't need to know
yeah,
it.
yeah. To learn people to be
Terrible.
to play drums. Teach people to play one piece of music without knowing the theory. Just this note, then this note, then this note, and go like that. You don't
Yep.
actually do it, and not the theory. It's like learning to drive.
Band triangles. Band triangles. Band triangles and those things that you shake that have got
Maracas,
shaky things on them.
maracas.
Yeah, but shaky things. Ban that stuff. Bring in the saxophone, like a moog, and a lap
It's like
steel guitar and a
learning to
harp.
drive. It's like learning to drive a car, right? You don't learn about how the engine works and how the no. You get in and you say, right, press that pedal to go forward and press that one to brake, and
Yep,
actually do it, and
do it,
then learn the theory behind it afterwards.
do it, do it. Another one. I suffer from anxiety, and I have since I was about 4 years old. But I didn't know it until I was about 44 years old. I didn't. I just thought I was normal. So, like, get taught about what makes you different, and then stop bullying people who got autism just because they're so different. Which happened in my school all the time. And you can make yourself a better person rather than losing sort of 20 years of your life because you've been depressed or you're anxious or you're suffering from trauma or whatever. Help identify what you are about, and then life just becomes a better place.
Okay. The other thing that occurred to me was
Not
finance.
moles.
That's right, not moles. Finance stuff, like a little bit about. I know you mentioned about economics and you weren't interested in it, but some basic level of understanding inflation, how to manage your finances, things like that. Real world stuff. Maybe you could make it into a little bit of a game. Maybe like Monopoly. I never really took the when I was playing Monopoly. I never took the ideas that within Monopoly and applied them to the real world. But maybe you could. Maybe you could have a game that was like that you did at school that made you understand. Right, you get this much income. You've got these outgoings. You can't afford this kind of car. You're going to have to get a loan. This is what the interest rates mean. This is what inflation means. This is the house you're going to buy. You're going to rent. You're going to buy. Here's the mortgage rates. Blah 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 blah. Some way to understand the real world before you actually step into the real world.
And end up spending money that you haven't got on high performance Italian sports cars
That's right.
that depreciate, you know,
That's right.
badly,
Yes.
as it turns out.
You've hit a nerve
Yeah,
there. So,
absolutely. How to have sex successfully. Again, it's kind of like music.
Is that
Kind
another
of like
dig?
No, Phil, you could have been the teacher, is the rumor. Again, it's like music, right? You know,
There's a
you open
certain
the book and you talk about what a gonad is, or a vas deferens, but sex is great. It's really good fun. But in order to navigate a sexual organ successfully, it is like, it takes 10 of 10, 15 years of real life work. So why was there no practical? That's what I want to know. If there'd been a practical, everyone would be happy. I think. I mean that might sound like a swinging statement, but there you go.
Good. So where do we land on this subject, Alistair?
Oh, bang! I'm right on board. I mean, what strikes me is that so our kids getting taught about prompt engineering, for example. Prompt engineering is a skill that everyone's going to need. How to get I didn't understand the internet. I didn't understand search engines for about a decade. Now, fair enough. Maybe that gets taught at school, but I didn't really know how to use it. And we're on the cusp of this brand new way of dealing with the world, AI, and no one really has a foggiest idea of how to do it. So prompt engineering, for example, should be in the syllabus. The syllabus should change every few years, right? And I don't know why it doesn't. It's probably because teachers don't want to and can't get their heads around it. Well, if the corollary of that is kids get taught stuff that they don't need to know, don't bother teaching. Don't bother your kids getting taught. So I am resolutely behind the idea, Phil. The more I think about it, the more irritable I'm getting.
Well, this is a good start to season 7. That we've got a solid half-baked thing. I mean, with no practical advice on how to achieve this goal, obviously, but at least we can agree. Yeah, other people should be doing something differently. Good.
Not our domain, Phil. Not our domain. No, we're here to hold a nightingale up in the mine and decide how deadly it is, and then someone else can sort it out, without a doubt. That's the beauty of half baked. Yeah, let's get it. Let's turn that sucker up to 210 degrees. Let's don our oven gloves. And let's put the subject right in there and feast on it, because
is that Fahrenheit? Fahrenheit?
Yeah, that'll be 210 thingies. Again, I don't know. I wasn't taught. I wasn't taught. Well, I probably was. I probably bumped off because it's really boring as well. So yeah, Phil, I don't know if I've ever been so more firmly behind you. And on that rather intriguing note, it's time to wrap another episode of Half Baked. Let us know your thoughts. I know we've got listeners from right around all 4 corners of the world. I was taught the world had 4 corners. Ridiculous. Yeah, so let us know your...
They should have updated those facts once they
should have updated it. I know. Let us know your experience of your corner of the world and how education is happening, because it seems preposterous that things aren't being kept up with. And archaic things, like all that math stuff you were talking about before, is still being taught when you can just hammer it into a calculator. Bingo, there's your answer.
That's
ridiculous.
Right. Good.
Cool. Thank you, Phil. That was a belter. I love it. Like, subscribe, share. You know what to do. We'll be back soon with Series 8 of Half Baked.